Alright, another edition of What the Fuck, Happenings YouTube Atheist Community and Stickam Fun. Very late edition. Yeah, sort of been having, I don't know, I've had a headache for a couple of days. And, I just really haven't been in the mood to do anything, extra. Just do what I have to do in life. Barely get through that. So anyway, so Stickam. Yeah, it was a good Stickam, sort of. I mean, I complained that it sucked because it had gaps in it. But I do have some MP3s of the better parts actually edited just for the parts that actually had some sort of decent conversation. Piero was there all night, so you would think we would have had opportunity to really do something, and we did. We did do some conversation that was worthwhile. But there was, there was a lot of dead stuff in between. Kind of off and on the chicks. We had some, didn't have some. Had them and then we lost them, kind of thing. Karina, hadn't seen her in about a month, so that was nice. She showed up, and then her internet, I guess, blew up, and that was it. But so that was nice, and so that's about all. The nature of the conversation was sort of interesting. Sorry, blew a bubble. Yeah, I'm just not right. Somebody sent me some potato chips. Thank you. Yeah, people are nice to me, and I don't know how to reciprocate. Yeah, I don't know. It's just hard to, this whole online thing. You get sort of involved with people, and it's delicate, because you want to be an asset to people. You don't want to drag them down, and it is sort of depressing philosophy, and it's well, I don't know. It's just complicated. It's just harder to manage. Well, I've never found managing relationships with people easy. So why should it be any easier online? Because people do feel like they're imposing on you, and then and everybody's paranoid, and you don't know whether people are crazy, and you don't know anything about anything. It's just really complicated. But whatever. It's all good, as they say. It's different. Life is just getting so. It's always weird, but it seems weirder. Yeah, it does somehow. I don't know. It's a different kind of weird. That's all you can say, and it's hard to measure it because it's sort of a different kind of weird. I mean, it's always every decade is weird. Just being my age and going through this whole transition of being more dead than alive. It's tricky. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So back to the conversation. We sort of talked about the words and this word love that comes up a lot, and it's really tricky business. And why do people give a damn about each other? Because Piero wants to keep that a spiritual kind of concept. And, I'm going to keep banging the drum that there really isn't such a thing, and that there's no pure emotions, that our emotions are all kind of corrupt and selfish, and, we even jump on grenades, sort of for our own ego, just because if we don't do it, we'll know we cheated, we didn't do the honorable thing, or some other kind of crap. It'd be some kind of back-assward reason that actually pushed us to do the right thing. We seldom can do the right thing for a pure reason. Purity is so hard to find. Everything's adulterated, polluted. There's probably gold in your drinking water, and there's probably also horse shit in it, but just little tiny bits. And it's like that with everything else, I guess, and some things are more polluted than others, and I'd just say that love is a horribly polluted word. So that sort of brings up that Hannibal Barca guy, who he is just, I guess he's entertaining in just that he's just so Barney the dinosaur silly. Like the first time you saw Barney the dinosaur, you had to watch. You didn't just flip by it and say, "Oh, I'm not going to pay any attention to that. It's a guy in a purple dinosaur suit. I'm not going to pay any attention." No, you had to watch it, and it's talking like a sissy, and you're like, "Holy cripes! People are letting this sissy raise their kids." Oh. Disgusting. It's like Mr. Rogers. I just did not get how he was on TV. I mean, what the hell? Why'd you just let him wear a dress? I mean, no wonder why kids are... You wonder why this generation is so fucked in the head. You know, they're boring holes in every orifice and shoving things up their butts and all this other crap. It's because, yeah, they were raised by Mr. Rogers. They don't know who the fuck they are or what the fuck they are. I mean, damn, Bugs Bunny raised me right. You fuckers. But anyway, it's sort of a joke. But it's sort of true, right? Yeah, all the jokes are sort of true, and that's sad too. So anyway, where was I? Love and shit. And yeah, so really, the MP3s are not that long. It's only a half an hour, I think. I edited out all the dead shit and just put the best of the 4 hours I had. The other 4 hours probably sucked even worse. And like I said, it didn't suck. It was good, but it was only good in packets. But, you know, the good jokes, though, unfortunately, are kind of cut out because they're only right in little bits. You know, some guy in a cowboy hat shows up singing and I make a good joke. Those always get missed. But anyway, that's irrelevant. This is sort of an interesting conversation. It sort of relates back also to this idea of where's the line? We have to draw this line. We can't allow philosophy to become psychology, or vice versa, more importantly. We can't allow our psychology to dictate what we define as the truth or value or anything else, because our psychology is complete crap. I mean, what I think is beautiful is not what you think is beautiful. It may be, but it's not necessarily. And the reason why it isn't is just the stupid reasons. I mean, they're just dumb. I watched A Christmas Carol, you didn't. You know, some kind of stupid thing like that. I'm a good person, you suck, just because of a TV show. A moment in time, one embarrassing, humiliating moment. One thing you do, I do, and you know, I'm in a mood, a certain mood that day. We both do the same thing, but I was in a mood where I was vulnerable, and so I turned it into a humbling experience. You turned it into a victory experience. I mean, that kind of shit. It's so arbitrary. What decides what we get off on? You know, what gives us a sense of beauty or pride or magnificence or splendor, you know, all those good words. And likewise for the negatives in a lot of senses. But the negatives are more consistently defined. I mean, we all tend to be revolted by some much more common things in a much more common pool. The pool of possible revulsions is much smaller than the pool of possible attractions. And that makes perfectly good sense, because that's sort of the life game. Is the mission statement's going to be variable depending on whether you're a man or a woman or a child or a parent or a this or a that. You're going to have different mission statements. But the fundamental defensive statement, the aggressive statement, let's say, the what I want from the world, is going to change with your situation. But what you don't want from the world is going to be basically the same. You don't want to be harmed. Your physical body you want intact and comfortable and satisfied. So because there's that common initiative there, it's just so strong, so simple. And that's kind of funny, because it is about consumption and reproduction, but it's about consumption and reproduction in a context. Depending on what position you're in, that will decide how you behave, whether you're an alpha or a beta, you know, who you're born to, where you're born. So variable. So anyway, that Hannibal Barca guy is, you know, he's made a couple of videos, you know, take down your video or I'll show you what an idiot you are and all this other crap. And it's just so funny, and it's all over a draft science type video, you know, video about human evolution in its broadest sense. And I guess his argument is that somehow we have evolved, or we were evolved at one point in our evolution to be, I don't know, flower children or something, some sort of passive, wonderful little benign monkey. And that somehow it was human civilization or something that turned us into assholes. And I'd say it's almost the inverse. I mean, if you really look at it statistically, you know, there's 300 million people in this country here, and, you know, not that many people go nuts every day. And when you think about 300 million, it's a, you know, it's a preposterous number. And the fact that only one a week or one a month, you know, decides to take a gun out and blow everybody away, I'd say that's a huge victory. So I don't think our tendency is violence, but our tendency is selfishness. And, you know, the tools of capitalism are a kind of violence. You know, the hierarchies are a kind of violence. The inheritance of position and authority is a kind of violence. So there's lots of replacement mechanisms for the physical combat. I mean, in the past, all they had was the physical combat. They couldn't compare, you know, I have leather seats in my car, ha ha ha. They couldn't really do that in the past. So the conflict for superiority had to get a little more in your face and a little more physical. It required a little bit of a I'm going to knock you on your ass contest to decide who was the man and who wasn't the man. How much time do I got? Oh, good. 5 minutes, 4 minutes, and whatever. So I really just don't know his angle of complaint. I don't think there's anything in the video he's griping about that is contestable. It's all the parts that are what I would call speculation are speculation in an arena where there isn't anything solid. That's why I speculated, is because there isn't anything. There's no way to make a solid, hard, definitive statement about that part of human evolution. I mean, the exact mechanism of the acquisition of our knowledge sense, our capacity to learn a language, is a tricky business, because it's you know it happened somewhere in the last million years, but you don't know exactly how or where it happened. It seems obvious that it would be associated with the control of fire. So that seems to be a magic position, I would say, where you could say, yeah, this is pretty basic stuff. I mean, you know, controlling fire isn't Einstein, but it's that you definitely got to be communicating with people. You got to understand a lot of stuff before you can get there. So you've got to kind of know what you're doing communication-wise with others, and acquisition of knowledge from generation to generation and such. So, and I would say that's the point where you have to also have pretty much the brain we have now. You just haven't filled it yet. And it is an interesting subject. I've done numerous videos on it. People don't like some of those videos, the draft type videos. But this whole idea that we actually evolved a functionality that we could only use 1/1,000,000th of. I mean, if you look at our capacity for intelligence, it's, you know, a baby born 50,000 years ago it's structurally, physically, you know, 99.99% you. It could go to school today and would be just as smart as you, and it would be speaking the same way you're speaking, all of that shit. And yet, that individual in his native environment, in you know, 50,000 years ago, was by comparison to you a complete fucking idiot. I mean, an animal, a monster in a way. You certainly wouldn't want to live with one. And you know, that it's sort of an amazing situation that here a creature had this huge kind of sword, you know, capacity for fighting, and they never pulled it, so to speak. And it, you know, it wasn't until we started doing all this storing information outside of our heads in books that knowledge could really start growing. And then it sort of grew on itself, because through science you learn how to do science. You learn where you learn how to learn, and you know, you start maximizing that. And now with the computers and the rest of it, our learning will start happening outside of our own heads, and you know, we'll end up with the raw data. You just put the numbers in, and the calculator does the math, kind of thing. But the game, the description of our life game, and understanding of our psychology, and understanding of what's taking place on planet Earth, that we can know. We've got that one. And you know, nobody wants to deal with that truth, but it's a gnarly, messy, stinking, rotten truth, that we're just a molecule reproducing. That's all you are. you know, I've said it before, but yeah, it's just a big toolkit. This thing is a toolkit, claws and sharpy little teeth to hold on to little critters so it can suck their blood and guts. Leave some of their guts behind because it doesn't care for them so much unless it's really hungry. Yeah, and you know, they're just all over the place. All these little different DNA molecules with their little different set of tools to look at the hoppy hops. That's so cute. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, there was other stuff I wanted to get to, but you know, Barklord made an interesting video, sort of, kind of. You know, griping about just civilization and how it's not very civilized. And yeah, I would agree, but the Stone Age wasn't too hot either. Both aren't any good. A dumb civilization's no good, and one that's too smart isn't too good. Time's up.